I can't lie, a part of me was legitimately concerned before the 992 GT3 RS was announced. Turns out Porsche knows what they're doing, ultimately outwitting the peer pressure of forced induction and electrification, possibly for the last time. That's the fight we wanted it to fight. Now let's go for a drive.
You look very much like a Porsche driver.
Thank you. Thank you.
So much stress and anxiety during the life. So you lost all your hair and now you made it.
Oh yeah.
You see?
You. Yeah, stressful indeed.
Driving position's good. I mean, it's as proper as it gets.
It's as low as it can go. Wow, this seat is so upright.
I put it super low because I like being low. Right?
Well, and to it, if you put it up, it tilts a little bit forward.
Yeah, it does.
I need like a little bit more recline, just a little bit.
4 or 5 degrees and it's money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit intense. Porsche has stuck to the tradition of the RS car. So behind me is still a naturally aspirated 4-liter flat 6, typical Porsche stuff. They've got a recipe, they've stuck to it. 518 horsepower and 346 pound-feet of torque. Sent back to the rear wheels. What the RS cars stand for is an evolution. What the 911 stands for is an evolution. Porsche is known for their evolution, not necessarily a revolution, right? And that has enabled the Porsche to kind of stand out when everyone else has gone turbos. Most other cars, you know, Ferrari, there was no friction going from the NA 458 to the turbocharged 488. They made that transition incredibly smoothly, where through it all, Porsche has managed to stick naturally aspirated. 9,000 RPM. I have missed that sound. I think we underestimate, generally speaking, the reward as a driver you get from having to rev out a naturally aspirated engine. No, you get to. I mean, the sound coming from that engine. See if we can do a launch here. We'll put it in track mode. See if launch becomes active for us here. To 60 in 3.2 seconds. You don't have to tell the RS you want to launch. It already knows. This car knows what you want before you want it. It serves you as a driver. And that's what I love about this car so much. Before, in the previous generation, it had no buttons on the steering wheel, which was awesome from a driving perspective, but now they've added in a ton of complexity. So we have our Porsche Active Suspension Management, PASM, you guys all know if you're familiar with the Porsche brand, and we can adjust on the fly. If we hit this button here, in track mode, our suspension, rebound and compression in all 4 corners, from front to rear, I mean. So you have unlimited adjustability there. Now, does that sound overly complicated? Yeah, a little bit, but again, you don't have to use it if you don't want to. Sorry, I'm a little bit distracted here. Wow. So much grip. Like, to get this car to where you are even close to approaching the limits on the road, you have to be going so fast and to push yourself as a driver. But it doesn't feel dangerous. The lack of turbos makes it predictable. It makes it smooth. In addition to the suspension settings, we also have DRS. So of course, you know on the straightaways, you want to get rid of a little bit of that downforce to increase the top speed. If we go into track mode, which we are in right now, we can hit that DRS, the wing flips up, allows more air to go back there. Of course, if you get into the brakes a little bit, or you give it a little bit of an aggressive steering input, then the DRS will automatically go back to full downforce mode. Leave it in dynamic downforce, and it will just do all of the work for you. You don't have to think about anything if you don't want to. The GT3 RS also gets rear axle steering and adjustable settings for both the torque vectoring differential and traction control. To me, this means the people buying this car because it's quote unquote cool can be eased into the speed feeling like a hero, whereas for the seasoned veteran, it's a feedback driven paradise. Steering wheel's great. This Alcantara is going to wear out. All right, so aerodynamics is the name of the game here. Tons of aero. If you thought the 991.2 had done enough, done everything they could have when it comes to aerodynamics, you were wrong, and Porsche proved you wrong once again. Wow, brake pedal's firm. That is, yeah, that's a track car. Oh, wow, the brake pedal's phenomenal. There's such a direct feel. All right, so, once I get out of here, it's a little bit difficult. This isn't your grandpa's Turbo S, is it? It kind of went from being just a track day special, the original 996 and 997 cars, to as close as you can get to a race car on the street. A ton of aero, double as much aero as the previous generation GT3 RS. And visually, I mean, you can see it. They don't try to hide it. Porsche, because they still have a naturally aspirated engine, has to compensate in other ways, right? So we got these vents in the front here, in the hood. There's no frunk. This is a street car. One single radiator here, and then the sides, instead of having radiators like the previous generation had, all of these side openings are for aero. And then when we come around the side here, these openings right behind the front wheel release pressure essentially underneath this arch here. Of course, if you've been around the 991, these are familiar. I remember when the 991 first came out, the RS, people thought this was wild, that this was a crazy detail. And now this is kind of secondary to everything else that's going on. I mean, the car looks stunning. It's engineering, it's function, not really form. We've still got these intakes on the back, except they're not actually feeding the engine this time around. These essentially are to get more air past the wheels. We've got 335s in the rear, 21 inches. We got 275s in the front. So to get air around these wheels, and again, to release pressure, we need that scoop, and that basically just feeds air back here. And then of course the hips of the car, everything is channeling air to the rear wing. That goes without saying. Ridiculous. I mean, we've all seen those photos online of people, usually on a JDM car, they go and sit and like eat their McDonald's on the wing. I'm still waiting for that photo with the GT3 RS, but I'm sure it's coming. Of course, it's got the DRS function that we talked about. And then, yeah, these fins on the top, on top of this gorgeous carbon fiber roof here, YSEC package, of course. These direct the hot air coming out of the radiator away from the intakes, because the only way this engine gets air into the engine is through this back piece right here down at the bottom. And you'd think that might not be enough to cool it, but it is. Just ridiculous. I was not prepared really to see this car in person, but now that it's here, it seems to make sense. Frank, what do you think?
God, it's big. It's huge, it's beautiful, it's perfect spec, it is it. It is it.
Yeah, it is it. And it is beautiful, just like in a different way. Yeah. And if you could appreciate something like this, then that's exactly what it is. All right, let's get back in and finish up. Frank's not wrong. It is a huge car, and it feels it. Although somehow about as intimidating to approach as a cold lake on a scorching hot day. After all, it's just a 911. This is the approach though that'll send you into a lake faster than you can say, downforce made me do it. See, with Porsche's exploration into uncharted territory brings the potential of a somewhat disconnected on-road experience. The car generates almost 1,900 pounds of downforce at 285 kilometers per hour or 177 miles per hour. That's like strapping a Lotus Elise to your roof. Talk about a test for Michelin. All of these downforce figures are at speeds which will walk you straight into a jail cell if you're on a public road. That's a real problem I simply can't ignore. That's not to say the car isn't connected on the street in every other way. The steering is precise and just about perfect. The tires and road are felt through the wheel and the seat constantly. And the engine response through my right foot gave me even more confidence. But for anything less than an open track day, most of this aero begins to feel a bit more like curb appeal to me. Makes me wonder how many miles these will actually do on the track under ownership. I'm sure it would fight back on the track, but it's easy on the road. Point and shoot. Knowing the car is capable of so much more than I'm feeling here leaves me feeling both ambitious, yet somewhat unsatisfied. Downshifts are incredible. The PDK, of course, is everything you would expect from a transmission. It doesn't have a growl like the F12 V12 does. It's such a smooth buildup of torque. It does, yes, weigh about 450 pounds more than the RSR, the actual GT3 race car. But of course, in context to everything, that's not really all that much. 3,200 pound curb weight here. It's a lightweight vehicle for what it is. And it has to be as light as possible because when you're fighting an uphill battle like Porsche is, keeping the NA engine, you have to do everything else. It's good. It gave them, they gave themselves a handicap, which in turn made everything else about the car just turned up to 10. So what the adjustability here I think has done is potentially brought in some of those supercar people who just want a nice flashy car they can drive fast, that looks the part, that has the curb appeal. The GT3 RS now does have the curb appeal to line up against Ferraris and everything like that. But what I hope these adjustments do here is potentially usher in more track drivers who wouldn't have necessarily been learning about this stuff, right? It opens up that possibility for let's say, hey, somebody who owns this car goes to a track and maybe somebody at the track is a professional driver or a driving instructor, and you could then be like, hey, what do you think the settings should be? Take the car out for a couple laps, come back, tell me, and adjust the settings for what you think they should be for this track and why that is. And then you can kind of, as a driver and as an owner, internalize that and hopefully better yourself as a driver and as a Porsche GT3 RS enthusiast. Whereas before, you're kind of going in blind, and even here you could still go in blind. It could go the opposite direction and end terribly if you adjust these settings wrong. So not for the faint of heart, I guess you could say. One complaint you could say about the RS is that, hey, it's stiff for the street. But I have a feeling that anybody who buys this car is not going to care that it rides, quote unquote, too stiff. In fact, I don't find it on smooth roads to be too stiff. I mean, big bumps, you get tossed around. You're getting tossed around in this car. Does it feel at home on the street? That's a tough one. That is a tough one. I think it's all relative. Compared to what? Compared to what? Does a 1,000 horsepower Lucid Air or Rimac Nevera feel at home on the street? Probably not either. That EV torque doesn't really feel at home on the street either. It's way too fast for most people. And this is, let's be honest, way too much car for most people. But that's why we enjoy it. That's why we love it. This is the last GT3 RS that will have an analog tach by what it seems like right now. The next generation or the updated, the 992.2. It was announced, as you guys know, obviously, and that has a fully digital dash. So, yeah, farewell, my friend, Analog Tack, a beautiful piece. That never gets old.
My name's Sam. I'm one of the owners of Cut and Polish Auto Detailing and Sigma Motor Group. Everything car related, from Honda Civics to supercar detailing to economy car rentals to supercar rentals. Oh, everything kind of works hand in hand with us. This is obviously our 992 GT3 RS that we have on our fleet. It's a carbon gray metallic, spec'd out by us. I've driven a lot of different vehicles. The car drives itself, the aerodynamics on it, the way that the air gets pulled out of the vents, everything about it is unreal. Porsche perfected this car in every way possible. I like more of a raw feeling. So this car literally drives itself through corners. You don't have to do no work. You just turn the fucking wheel and it goes in, right? Which is nice, but I like the raw feeling. This car is extremely freaking smooth. It's almost too smooth. Zero sway, you can bang corners at any speed in this thing and it's completely firm on the ground. So you can check us out either on Cut and Polish Auto Detailing Instagram, Sigma Motor Group, or VancouverCarRentals.ca. We're located in Port Coquitlam.
Thanks, man. Thanks for
No, anytime. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been incredible. Thank you, Sam, so much, Sigma Auto Group, and Frank for setting this all up. You guys, links will be in the description. Hit the like button if you want. It helps us out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, we're driving everything. We're gonna try to do that, so see you soon.